Good evening, everyone. My name's Mark Fernandez. As I mentioned last week, for those of you here, I'm an old student of Tara Institute. I've been coming here for maybe 35 years, so it's a long time. So my teachers are the resident teacher here, Venerable Geshe Doga, Kabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's one of the founders of this centre, and also His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So they're all from the same tradition. So I'm a student of those three teachers. So this week I thought we'd recap what we covered a little bit from last week, because it looks like we've got a bigger number here this week. So I thought it'd be good to go over some of those concepts, because they're foundation concepts and they'll help you later when you try and develop a good understanding and good practice of some of the concepts that are outlined in Buddhism. So firstly, in Buddhism, motivation's very important. And I mentioned last week that I'm hopeless at reminding myself to establish a good motivation for doing any action. It just doesn't register once I've started the day and I'm in the middle of the day and towards the end. I just don't think about, what motivation have I got? I'm just in not flight or fight mode, but just in do mode. Action mode. So it's almost autopilot. I'm doing something, I'm not thinking about why I'm doing it. But what I find is in the morning, if I can establish a good motivation, wake up, try and establish a positive motivation, then whatever comes up during the day, I can handle it. Whether it's good, bad, indifferent, friendly, unfriendly, there's a little bit of a energy that motivation gives you in a positive direction. So I'm not sure if any of you come on Wednesday night. Could you put your hands up if you come on Wednesday? Yeah, a few of you. Okay. So Geshe Doga, at the beginning, he reads a refuge and bodhicitta prayer. So I won't explain what those words mean in total, but I'll just read the prayer once. So, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. So in that, there's a motivation in that prayer. So even before Geshe Doga teaches, he's setting that motivation for himself, and he's asking the students as they repeat the prayer to establish that within themselves. So that's the type of motivation I'm talking about in the morning, if I can do that. So along the lines of, may I be able to benefit all sentient beings. Just start with that. So that's sort of so to be of benefit to anyone you encounter throughout the day. So establish that first thing, and it seems to mean that I don't get as thrown as easily. Whereas if I wake up grumpy, sore head, and just forget motivation and go through the day, then it doesn't get any better. In fact, sometimes it gets progressively worse. So, so the motivation propels the action. So whether it's a positive, negative, or neutral motivation. So if you establish a good motivation at the beginning, you're well on the way to creating a positive result. So let's recap of some of the themes we covered last week, just for everyone's interest. So in everyone's interest to go over it. So all beings want happiness and don't want suffering. So this is a truism that His Holiness the Dalai Lama uses a lot. So just as I asked last week, does that make sense to everyone, that every being wants happiness and doesn't want suffering? Can you think of anyone who wants the opposite, who'd rather suffer and just avoid any sort of happiness? No?
Like those people who enjoy getting windfall pennies wings.
Yeah. Well, there were definitely in India, there are a few spiritual traditions, maybe even before Buddhism turned up, where they're probably the thing of the whip, self-immolation or something like that? It's called, self-flagellation. That's it. So even pre-Christian. So it's just like whack, 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 and that's the way to happiness. So you've done something wrong, so whack, and then you feel better. Geshe-Doga explained another one. It was sort of a sect where there was bathing. You went in dirty and then you bathed and you were cleansed. And he was sort of indicating that one makes sense, and it makes sense to me, that one. Does it make sense to you that could sort of give you some sort of psychological uplift? If you're like, I'm not feeling all that good when I go into a nice perfumed bath and I come out all clean, then it does something to your mind, huh? So that one could work. So you could see how that one maybe it could lead to a positive result. And the other one Geshe mentioned was the sect of the fire. So the way to happiness was through jumping into a fire. Does that one sound as though it's going to be a long-lived tradition? No, that tradition didn't last very long, because as soon as they jumped in, they got burnt and died. Invariably, most died. So that one doesn't. So it's a bit like the self-flagellation. It sort of doesn't really make any sense. So anyway, it probably proves the point, His Holiness's point, that all beings, whether it's an ant or the human, they're all after some form of happiness, and they want to avoid any form of suffering. So we're like that. That's us. So if we're going to do that, have happiness and avoid suffering or eliminate suffering, what are some of these sufferings that we have as human beings? Anyone like to have a go at that? Anxiety, yes, that's a big one, especially in the West. Very anxious and nervous at times. So it's a worry, isn't it? And it can be like a anxiety for no reason or no apparent reason, just a feeling of unease. Very common. So to have that, you go, I just don't feel good, and so I'm really, not happy within myself about what's happening or what's going to happen. So that's a good one. Attachment, yes. So so attachment, and it's overly investing in the positive qualities of the object of attachment. So instead of it being that's a very nice person I'm meeting, that's the greatest person I've ever met. Their qualities are so fabulous, I can't believe it, So it's just elevation to in an exaggerated way. So why would that be a problem? Anyone? Unrealistic, yeah, because what happens after that, what we call the honeymoon period, if you put the person up here and then you go, they're really not like that at all, and then you sort of have this big, where you probably think, well, they're not any good at all, really. So there's that going the other way. So you've put them on a huge pedestal, and then you've said, oh no, it's not worth me even talking to them anymore. So there's that. Anyone like to have a go at another one? Grasping, that's a little bit like attachment, grabbing at something. Might not be a person, so it could be an object. So I work I run a jewellery store with my wife. So I'm not putting any, anything on the customers that come in. But I do notice that some people come in and they'd buy everything in the shop if they could. It's not just that, I'm coming in for one thing that I really want. They can actually, we've got thousands of pieces of jewellery, so they could come in and look at everything and not have any idea of what they're going to buy, because everything's attractive. So in Buddhism, so they're all very good examples. And I'll cover another one tonight, and also the method to actually resolve it or control it or dissipate it. Because if the afflicted emotion is the source of the problem, and you have a method to actually reduce the intensity of it or eliminate it completely, then you're well on the way to achieving some form of peace and happiness. So peace and happiness. So one of the things that Geshe-Doga has said is that a peaceful mind is a happy mind, and I mentioned this last week. So does that sound true to everyone? A peaceful mind is a happy mind. So if you've got a peaceful mind, you're naturally going to be happy. Anyone disagree or think, oh no, that the opposite's true? If I'm agitated, I'm ecstatic. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So with the happiness we're talking about, we're not denying in Buddhism that the external object plays a part. You know, we have good physical conditions, health, you know, roof over our heads. We haven't got bombs being dropped on us every night, or, you know, soldiers trying to kill us. We haven't got all those things happening in our environment. So the external things do play a part in the happiness, but the main part's the mind. So that's the source of happiness, according to Buddhism. So the next thing is the wisdom tools to develop happiness. In Buddhism there are 3. The first one's listening, so which is what you're doing tonight's listening. The second one is thinking about, or ruminating, or contemplating. And the third one is meditation. So you need to do them in that order. So if you don't listen, if you think, oh no, it's just rubbish, well, you won't do the second part. You won't contemplate it. You'll just think, that's no, it's not for me. I'm not going to go any further. And you definitely won't meditate on it. So you need to go through those 3 steps. And the second one's important because as much as the teacher or the person like me as a student who's passing the information on, as much as I can shovel it in, you know, to you, if you don't personalise it, then you won't meditate on it, and you won't get the benefit out of it. So it has to be a little bit. You have to personalise it and go, well, what does that mean for me? You know, does it mean anything? So important to do that. So they're called wisdom tools. So if you listen, you contemplate, and you meditate, your wisdom develops, and that's a particular form of wisdom that's going to bring happiness.
Can I just ask what the definition in Buddhism of what the definition of happiness? Because it's just like this guy next to me who said that, you know, you can feel peaceful. That doesn't mean, you know, you can be happy. So you know, when you say happiness all the time,
yep.
Like, what's the definition of happiness?
Okay. So for us, I'd just trying to put it in lay terms. It's the mind it's the mind that's free of those afflicted emotions. So you have that, and then on the flip side of that, so that's sort of saying, well, I'm not feeling that's suffering, but on the flip side of that, we have this mind that's clear and uplifted without the need for anything external. So it's just of its own. So Mark, for example, use me as an example. If I'm happy, it's not that I'm happy because of that person or this person, but within myself, there's a feeling, a sensation. Oh well, I'm good. I'm happy. So it has to be. So it's a personalised thing, personal thing.
Is that different to feeling peaceful?
Well, according to Geshe-Doga, if you have a peaceful mind, your mind's free of those afflicted emotions, you'll be naturally happy. You won't have any room. And again, Geshe-Doga, I'm using Geshe-Doga as a good example because he's been a monk for a very long time, since he was in his teens till he's in his 80s now. And he mentioned the other day in the teachings, he had a moment of anger, which was a shock to me. I thought, well, all right. And then he said, I remember I had a moment of anger when I was a teenager. So it's like, well, all right. So you imagine our lives if we could go from 80 back to, say, even 17 and go, what's that? What's the difference, 80 and 17? 63? So 63 years have gone since he had a moment of anger. So he's got 63 years without anger. So Geshe doesn't drive like me. But I notice, oh yeah, I'm a calm, it's fine, it's no problem. But then as soon as I get behind the wheel of a car, I notice this change. Maybe it's, what's the thing, trying to protect yourself? That what's that? Airbag? No. It's to do with the vulnerability when you're when you're in a high-speed vehicle with other high-speed metal vehicles around you. So it's that self-preservation mode. That's it, self-preservation mode. So that's it. So out of the car, oh yeah, it's all good, I'm calm, it's no problem. In the car, it's like, oh gosh, she's cut me off, or he's in the wrong lane, or there's a little anger arises. I just notice it and I go, oh, what's that? And I look at myself and go, what's happening? But anyway, that's just me behind the wheel. I'm going, anyway. So I can't say hand on heart, oh yeah, no moment of anger for Mark, because I go, well, if I get behind the wheel, then that seems to happen. And does it happen for anyone else, or is it all cosy on the roads in Melbourne? Yeah, that's right. So if we use Geshe Doga as an example, yeah, if he hasn't had the afflicted mind of anger for say 63 years, and it's just a mere memory, and he's laughing about it, thinking, oh yeah, I had that moment of anger when I was 17, and you're thinking, how good is his mind? He's happy. He says that he's happy. So to me, that's the best example of happiness in a person. It's like peaceful mind, happy mind. So you can have a peaceful mind, just to your point, that's seemingly content, but it's depressed. It's dulled. You notice that? I'm peaceful, yeah. And it's like, but my mind is so dull that you think, well, it's not a happiness, it's really just a form of low grade, maybe not depression, but just what's the term for? Yeah, a little bit of melancholy, a little bit like that. So your mind's a bit dulled out. But that's not a good place to be, especially unless you need, it's chemically imbalanced or something, or a trauma's caused it. But if you're like that all the time, and you can get out and you can lift your mind out of it, you'd want to. I think it's not a good place to be full time. So. So we call those afflicted emotions like anger and attachment adventitious. Does anyone know what adventitious might mean? So if we use the analogy of the sky and the clouds, we're saying that the mind's true nature is the sky, pure and clear, bright, happy, so it's all good. And the afflicted emotions are like the clouds that obscure it. And at the moment, I'm one with both, I've got this nature, this pure nature that's supposedly like the sky, and then I've got these afflicted emotions that I feel all the time, they're covering it. So the term adventitious means that they're not at one with the mind. They're merely veils, if you like, that obscure it. So what does that mean if it's just merely obscuring it? It means that, does it mean it's permanently at one with the mind and they can never be lifted? So if you have anger or attachment, if it was at one with the mind, no matter what you did, you couldn't change it, it would still be there. But because we're in Buddhism, that we're saying, oh, no, that afflicted emotion of attachment, it's adventitious, it can be lifted away. That means you can reduce its intensity, you can stop it arising, and eventually you can be rid of it. And that's like Geshe. So, he's had a moment of anger and he can remember it from 63 years ago. So that's that. Geshe-la's at that stage where it's not coming up anymore in his mind stream. So that's adventitious. So for a human being, that's the potential we have, is that we can use certain methods to not stop it arising, or stop its intensity, stop it arising for a time, and then eventually remove it completely. And from a logical point of view, if you can get rid of one afflicted emotion, you can get rid of them all. So does that make sense to everyone? Yep. Does anyone think that that's... Actually, you raised a good point the other day, last week. What if there are too many clouds? So that So let's ask that question. If there are too many clouds, can we get rid of them all? To see the true nature of the mind, can we? Is it possible? Anyone like to? Yes? Yes. Yeah. And so if you use the technique to reduce the intensity of one, stop it from the technique to stop it from arising, and then a technique to eliminate it for one, you can apply similar sort of thinking for all the other types of afflicted emotions that we have.
Sometimes people believe that. Sometimes they seem to be so tested or overcome by that love movement.
Yes.
Entertaining the idea that maybe there's another way.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all relate to that. We get caught up in our own emotional feeling because it becomes part of our personality or being. So we think, oh, well, I'm always jealous, so that's just who I am. But from a Buddhist perspective, we say, well, you can do something about that feeling, for example, of jealousy. Yes. Yeah, and then it makes it... So anyway, so that's the first thing is, oh, well, the actual jealousy, acknowledgement that jealousy is actually, for using the example of jealousy, that, it's actually an afflicted emotion, it's actually a problem. If you don't acknowledge that, if you think, it's all good, I'm jealous, it's just who I am, the green... Is it the green monster? Jealousy, is it or green or purple? Green, sorry. So the green-eyed, is it green-eyed monster? Green-eyed monster, yeah. So jealousy, if you think, that's just who I am, I'm not changing, come and go, it doesn't matter, then if you don't acknowledge that it's a problem for you and for others, then you have no energy then to try and suppress it, transform it, get rid of it. So it's a very good point. You have to have some acknowledgement. And this is from the Buddhist teaching, you have to look at yourself as the patient, that, I do have some problems. So if you're not willing to do that, as we discussed last week, you won't go to the doctor. And I made a bit of a bad joke that, there's a few males in here, and probably they don't go to the doctor anyway. And that's true in Australia. Men don't go to the doctor. So yeah, if you're a patient though, you think, I'm not well, I'm going to go to the doctor, and the doctor's going to give me some medicine that I'm going to take, and then you take it. But if you don't acknowledge that you're not well, I'm not going to go. So that's the first step. So just in terms of some of the examples of if the afflicted emotions are problematic for us, what about some of the positive qualities or emotions that we have? What are some good ones that we want to keep? Excitement, contentment, yeah. Empathy, yeah, that's a good one. Self-control.
Just being equanimous.
Like equanimity. Yes. Optimistic, that's a very good one, yes. Compassion. Was it compassion or passion? Compassion. Passion's still good, but compassion's very good, yep. So, love. I've just got a few I've written down. It's not exhaustive, but I'll just sort of give you a feel for what I thought. Love, compassion, empathy, grief, joy, equanimity, altruism, happiness, humility, enthusiasm, generosity, morality, wisdom, bravery. So the list is endless, but there's all these good qualities that human beings have. So can these, and this comes back to another point around psychology, is can these qualities be cultivated within us, or is what we have fixed? They can be cultivated. So if you've got a level of compassion, for example, so you feel the suffering of others, you can develop that. Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone? You can do something to develop compassion within you, even if you have some. You can make it stronger. Yeah. Okay. Because there is a school of thought. It's not Buddhist that says, what you have is finite. You have a finite number of breaths. You have a finite level of fitness, and also almost the state of mind you have is pretty much set. You can't really do much to change. Well, Buddhism doesn't agree with any of that. So it's a transformative, if you like, religion or psychology. So I'll use an example here from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So he said that there was an old monk who was captured by the Chinese, and he might have been captured in the 1950s or 60s when His Holiness had escaped from Tibet into India. So for a long time he was jailed by the Chinese. And so he was an old man when he was captured, and so by the time he was freed, he was a bent over, stooped old monk. So he's almost at right angles, his top of his body to his legs. He's like that. So His Holiness said that there was a danger for that monk. So what does anyone want to know? Would anyone like to hazard what that danger was that His Holiness was talking about? Yeah, very good. That's right. Losing compassion for the Chinese. That was the danger for that monk, is that because of the years he was imprisoned and maybe tortured and I shouldn't say maybe tortured and just his liberty denied, that the danger for that monk was that he would lose compassion, which he obviously must have had a lot of, but after years and years of being worn down, your feeling could change and go, well, Chinese, no compassion for them. So it becomes a little bit partial. So that was the big danger His Holiness. Because I was expecting to say, the danger is that he could have lost his life or something, because of the treatment. But it was no, the danger he could lose the compassion. It was very good memory. So, so anyway, those good qualities can definitely be cultivated by us as humans. So compassion, the feeling, is the fruit of love. Compassion, the action. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So so the point that the lady's making is around the effort required to generate this positive emotion or positive feeling of compassion. So it's effortful initially, requires a lot of work, and then eventually becomes spontaneous. So it arises within you naturally. Like with the monk, the monk His Holiness was referring to became very strong, but the danger was if he decided, oh no, this is not working, it's gone. But you can cultivate. So there needs a bit of effort again from the student's part. So it's not just, I've heard all these teachings, fabulous, let it seep in by osmosis. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So it would be nice though, huh? You could just turn the tape on and go, and then turn it off, and you'd be enlightened, or you'd be extremely happy all the time. But unfortunately, the realistic approach is what that lady said. Just some effort required, particularly initially, until you get on your way, and you find it's more spontaneous and effortless. So that unobstructed and unobscured mind, which is the happy mind, it's the Buddha's enlightened mind. So the nature that we have, which is this analogy of the sky, it's termed Buddha nature. So every being has it, but the human being has the potential to realise it. So an ant has it, but its conditions are such that it's got no hope of realising it. It hasn't got the conditions or the environment or the mind to do it. We have. So we're quite fortunate in that respect. Okay, so I'll just cover one. We'll do a little bit of meditation in a minute, but I'll just cover one thing that's new, which is, who's heard of the law of karma, or cause and effect? Has everyone heard of that? That's a Buddhist concept. It's also a Hindu concept as well, but it's used a little bit differently in their tradition. Has everyone heard of that? So in a nutshell, I'll cover this in future weeks, but in a nutshell, a positive action will lead to a positive result, and a negative action will lead to a negative result. So for us, well, I'll just say for me, sometimes it's very difficult to see the action I create and its result, the direct result, because sometimes the result doesn't occur till years away or lifetimes away. That's the other concept that goes with the law of cause and effect, is rebirth. So die and we take another rebirth depending on the positive actions we've created or the negative ones, whichever ripens. So it's so we might not see oh yes, I gave $100 to a beggar today. We might not see, the result is tomorrow someone gives me $1 million. We might not see that and say, that's the cause and that's the effect. But it's not quite like that. It doesn't occur in that time frame, for example. But you get the gist, though. Positive action, positive result. Negative action, negative result. So that's another truism of Buddhism. It's not fate. So you don't go, I was born in this. Again, that thing of determinism. I'm born like this. I can't change anything. It's my karma. So in Buddhism, we don't have that. We say, whatever you've got, you try and make use of and do something with it. Okay? So let's do some breathing meditation for a minute or two, not too long. So the purpose of this breathing meditation is to calm the mind. So again, as Geshe Doga said, the peaceful, calm mind is the happy mind, and to develop what we call concentration. So concentration is the ability to focus on one object. So for us, we're going to focus on the breath. So just make yourself comfortable, whether you're sitting in a chair or on the floor in a cushion. So main thing is to just to try and keep your back straight. So you're going to keep your mouth closed, so you're breathing through your nose, and then the focus of the meditation is going to be on the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out through the nostrils. So you're going to be breathing through your nostrils. So you keep your hands gently on your lap, and in our tradition, the left hand goes underneath, the right hand's on top, and then you join your thumbs and you point them back towards the navel. So this promotes a very good flow of energy throughout your body. Very good for developing concentration. And then you keep your eyes, you don't keep them wide open, because then there's the chance of being distracted. And you don't keep them completely shut, because then there's just the chance that you'll fall asleep or become drowsy. So you want to have just let the impression of light in. So it's sort of like a halfway point. So you want to keep alert but relaxed. So for the period of the meditation, you're going to be focusing on a couple of things. So I'll lead you through it, and then I'll let you do it yourself. So the first thing is just breathing through your nostrils, and then imagine, and as you're breathing out, that all your anxieties, worries and concerns of the day are being removed. And as you're breathing in, just let beautiful enlightened energy come into you. So as you're breathing out, all those worries and concerns are moving away from you. As you're breathing in, that beautiful enlightened energy is coming into you. So it's calming you down, bringing some form of peace and happiness. So just do that for a few moments, and then once you're happy with that, then switch your focus to the sensation of the breath as it's coming in and out through the nostrils. So we'll do that for a few minutes, and if your concentration wavers and you start to think about other things, just gently bring your mind back onto the breathing. It's okay. So just when you feel comfortable, just bring your awareness back to the room and you can open your eyes. Okay, so that form of meditation's concentration meditation. You're trying to stay with one object, develop some form of focus on that object. So that's very good for while you're in meditation. But out of meditation, it's also very good because if you could be focused on whatever task you're doing, whatever it is, through the day, rather than being distracted, then you're much more effective, huh? Does that make sense? So yeah, whether it's me driving a car or whatever, I'm sorry, it's a bad example, but any task you do, if you've got concentration, you're much more effective because you're not being distracted. So the second, there's the other form of meditation is called analytical meditation. So once you've developed a little bit of concentration within yourself, and if you have a minute, if you can focus for a minute, that's very good without being distracted. So you should start small, then stop while you're ahead. So that's the Geshe Doga's advice. Don't try and go, I'm just going to keep going and going and going and go for an hour and find, I fell asleep, or that it was ineffective because you'll develop some form of intense dislike actually for doing any meditation if you try and push yourself too hard. So it's better if you do a minute and you have concentration and then stop and go, that was good, because the next time you do it you'll feel refreshed and a little bit enthusiastic, and that's what you want. You want that mind to be a bit uplifted when you're going into it. Okay? So the second form of meditation is analytical. If you have a little bit of concentration, it will help you with the analytical meditation. So with the analytical meditation, you're allowing your mind in a controlled setting to examine the subject in whatever way you want. So you set the parameters. So that's analytical meditation. So tonight we're going to use it to look at an afflicted emotion, the afflicted emotion of jealousy. So and how we can use that meditation to help us subdue the jealous mind that we may have. So just a simple definition of jealousy. So if someone has what we want or what we desire, we can classify those sorts of things as jealousy because we have a feeling of becoming upset that they have what we want, or they have what we deserve. Actually, it's probably even more to the point, isn't it? I should be getting that, not them. So that mental state's not very productive, and it causes problems both for ourselves and others. So we have to recognise that, yes, it is a problematic, afflicted mind first. That's the first thing. If it's a good mind to have, that we don't need to treat it, but If it's a problematic mind for us, then definitely. So if you have the mind of jealousy, is there any peace or comfort within you at the time? No? No, I see a lot of people shaking their heads, so that's good. So yeah, definitely not. So once you're feeling jealous, it's intense, huh? It's an intense feeling. It's not a, you mentioned a content, sort of subdued mind. It's not like that. Jealousy is definitely not subdued, dull. It's sort of a strong feeling, isn't it? Really powerful. And you impute on the object that you're jealous of intense dislike, don't you? Like the person you're jealous of, you generally don't think, oh, they're fabulous. You turn it around the other way and they go, they can't be fabulous because it should be me that's getting this recognition or reward. So it lacks peace and comfort, and we become very upset. So when I worked in the banking and finance industry, this was for about 25 years, so I rose to quite a senior level, and I was the boss for quite a few years of big teams, 80 people, and that. And then I'd noticed that, oh, okay, everything's going along well. People are getting promoted, recognised, and everything. And then all of a sudden, someone would come in and be promoted over the top, and it would be seemingly undeserved or unannounced. So has anyone seen an instance of that, where it's like, how lucky is that person? They've got, hold on, why are they getting all the accolades? So that's quite common, isn't it, in life? I mean, it doesn't have to be at work, but in life that's very common, isn't it? That person is getting something that's undeserved. I should be getting that recognition or reward. So I saw lots of instances of that. And that's where, if you develop a good understanding of the law of karma or cause and effect, you can actually sort of say, well, I can't see that they've created the cause for it, but they must have created the cause for that recognition, huh? It's not random that suddenly that they're getting the accolades. And there's a method there to try and diffuse that emotion, that strong, intense emotion. And what I noticed was, if it was me in that situation, someone got promoted or recognised or got the accolades over me, it was me that got upset and they didn't even notice. So has everyone had that instance, that sort of example, where the person who you're jealous of doesn't even know that you're feeling bad, because all they're feeling is happy because congratulations and well done. So my intense feeling has no impact at all on them, and even if they're aware of it, they probably wouldn't make any difference to them. So there's that too. So it happens in relationships quite a bit too, huh? So if you're with a significant other, a life partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, so it's sort of like, and then all of a sudden if someone encroaches on that, even if it's innocent, like, no chemistry, no tension, sexual tension, nothing, just meeting, from the eyes of the person with the jealousy, it becomes what? Hold on, what's she doing? What's it? There's that. Immediately you start becoming a little bit paranoid. You're projecting all these things onto the situation that are perhaps not there. So that's another, if you like, a drawback of jealousy. That you've already got the feeling, but now you're projecting intensely a situation that's probably not even real. Does anyone relate to that? Yeah. So, and if you take that to the nth degree, you could almost destroy your relationship over something that didn't happen. Because how could you talk to that person? There's something going on, and it could be a deal breaker for your partner or your friend. So that, because they go, well, I wasn't. There's nothing in it, and so So it creates immediately a barrier there. Yep.
Do you see the parallels between that and anxiety? As someone who comes to those sort of like similar conclusions, like they might be anxious over another situation where they basically end up
Yeah. Yes. So you're saying anxiety going along with the jealousy? Or you're saying anxiety is the afflicted emotion? So,
the same result, but
yeah. Well, in the West, unfortunately, we suffer from that a lot, where we're anxious. And look. Don't get me wrong. Other cultures have their own problems, and it's not like those Tibetans are fabulous. You know, they're all happy as Larry, and it's all good. They've got each culture has their own, if you like, issues to deal with. But for us, because maturely we're okay, then mentally we play these sort of like mind games a little bit. We run away with things. So the thoughts run away. Discursive thoughts, they're called. So it's just one thought leads to another, and that eventually leads to this afflicted emotion, and the anxiety is like the fuel for it. So you become a little bit you worry, unnecessarily worrying, and that makes you more anxious and more tight and less relaxed. So that's a common problem as well. But not a good. Again, it's an afflicted feeling, isn't it, that you're having, and it can be unsubstantiated, unreal. So might not have any basis at all other than your own thoughts running away with themselves. So we'll do a little bit of meditation just on the method to deal with jealousy. So I'll guide you through it, but it's all very personalised. You don't. So again, get into the meditation posture. So straight back, left hand on the bottom, right hand on top, thumbs joined, eyes sort of just with the impression of light, and you're again breathing through your nostrils. Yeah, so your mouth's closed, and then again, you can do the same breathing. So breathing in the enlightened energy, breathing out all the thoughts of the day, anxieties, concerns and worries. Just do that. Then go past that and just focus on the breathing, the sensation of the breath going in and out. So you're in control. So now in front of you, you're going to visualize the person you're jealous of. So this is quite safe because it's your mental projection. The person's not really there, but you're just visualizing or imagine that they're there, that they are there. And then you're going to think about what it is that's made you jealous of them. So they've achieved recognition, love, fame, promotion, all the things that we desire, and when we look at it superficially we think, they've done nothing to deserve it, it should be me. But if we look a little bit closer and we understand the law of cause and effect, or karma, that a positive action will lead to a positive result and a negative action will lead to a negative result, we can see for that person whatever recognition or accolades or promotion or relationship that they've achieved or received, it's due to their past actions. So we can't see the relationship ourselves. It just seems unbelievable that that person is getting that recognition and I'm not. I can't believe it. But if we think around, okay, they've created a cause somewhere for that to happen. And then, once we've done that, we can, instead of feeling that intense jealousy, we can rejoice in their recognition, success, relationship, happiness, accolades. So at first it's quite difficult, quite hard to do, to feel it in a genuine way, so it's a contrived feeling. So rejoicing is just you're happy for their happiness. So if you were happy for their happiness, imagine their response to you. And then have a look at how you're feeling at that point. Is your mind still as disturbed as it was at the beginning of the meditation? Or is there some form of peace? So, okay, we'll finish that meditation. So just gently bring your awareness back to the room. So, did anyone feel any sort of anything with that meditation? Did anyone feel jealous? Were you able to bring an object of jealousy up? Yep. And did the meditation, was it painful to do, or was it easy?
Actually, I found it kind of annoying.
Annoying?
Yeah. So I wasn't actually jealous of anyone.
Oh, okay.
So I had to try and create that jealousy.
Okay. You're lucky. No, it's good. You're fortunate, very fortunate. Because because I can't say that myself. So go, but so in the technique of that meditation is that you're controlling it, because you're the one doing all the thinking and the scenario setting. So if it gets uncomfortable, you can just ease off a little bit. But then you should feel a little shift as you're going through it. And then if you do, that reflection is of, well, it's their result of their action has caused that recognition, whatever, happiness. And I'm rejoicing in that happiness for them. If you look back at the emotion you felt at the beginning and the intensity of it, do you think it should be, the jealous intensity should be higher or lower? A little bit lower? Yeah, that's right. That's very good. So that. Yeah. Yes. That's a very good point. You have to contrived and put a lot of effort, and that's the same point that lady made before. So it's a lot of effort from the student's part to practice it, because if you go into a situation and you try and feel fabulous, great, well done, it won't be real at all. It'll be like very contrived, but it won't actually. People will see through you. Hold on, that guy's really jealous of me and he's envious, but he's pretending, But doing it over and over again, and this is what I noticed, was that I didn't get to your point where no jealousy at all, but I got to the point where in meditation I was able to feel a shift, a cognitive shift, so that when a real life situation where someone, say in the corporate world, got a huge promotion for no reason, or pay rise, whatever, my first response became, congratulations, well done, rather than terrible, terrible me, poor me. So it can be done, but you do, very good point, a lot of effort required, and of course it's quite painful if you're dealing with that. But you're controlling it a little bit, and if it gets too intense, you just ease back and go back onto the breath, because the breath's as Geshe-Doge says, the calm, peaceful mind. You're using the breath to do that, and then you switch back to analytical. So the two go hand in hand. Develop some concentration, then do the analytical, and then you can go back to the concentration. So they work together very well. So you do need some concentration, because if you had none and you tried to do the analytical meditation on, say jealousy, what would happen is, what do I have to do tomorrow? I'm late for this meeting. You'd have no focus at all. So you need a little bit of concentration. You have a question? Yes.
I find it quite challenging to find a subject matter of jealousy, that I don't know necessarily what is jealousy. You focus on the desire of the mind, and notice what that desire will lead you to feeling. You don't actually acquire it.
So you have a desire for what others have?
I mean, think of it as a situation where you desire for something that you've seen in others.
Seen in others? Okay. So,
I guess with this, what happens if you're working so hard towards that same desire,
yes.
that emotion lead to a form of jealousy, or maybe we just gotta practice and trust what your intention is moving towards that.
Yeah. Generally look, if you don't have strong emotion of jealousy, you're sort of almost saying, you have this quality in you that I desire, I'm going to acquire it. You could still acquire that quality without having an ill intention towards the person, so it's probably not jealousy. Although you could go, you have what I want, you don't deserve that, I'm going to get it, and that turns into the jealous mind, because you've really gone, well, you've got it, you don't deserve it, I should have it. So yes.
Isn't jealousy also a form of your sense of ownership over something?
Yeah.
Yourself in that ownership. So that's a way of working on jealousy.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily, I don't believe jealousy is always about an
Affliction.
infliction. An infliction of, I don't believe that you deserve something.
Yes.
Sometimes it's about that person coming into your space and you go, this is mine.
Okay.
So there's
Okay, yeah. So it gets a little bit tricky, because I was using, I suppose, an example of a less personalised, more corporate, which is the ones we encounter most of the time, I think. In relationships we see it too, so don't get me wrong, but you could probably switch it a little bit there, where it's, I'm jealous because there's a threat to my relationship, and you could do the same meditation and go, well, things happen due to cause and effect. Okay, I can see that, and I can rejoice. So very contrived at first, very hard to do, but then eventually it becomes a little bit more natural, and until you get to the point where, oh yeah, well, my wife's having a discussion with that man, all good. So, and that becomes more natural, because quite often that's what happens with the mind of jealousy. Is it green? It's definitely green-eyed monster, isn't it? It's the green eyes are actually an incorrect prism, or like these glasses, but if they had the wrong prescription, I'd just be seeing something totally distorted. And that's sort of what jealousy does. It just distorts your perception of what's actually happening, because you put this overlay of your feeling on it. So it can be done. So that's one technique for jealousy. So a bit of recognition about cause and effect. So I'll go into that in a little bit more detail next week, because that's it's an important Buddhist topic to understand. and the other one's rejoicing. So that's very good, rejoicing. And one of the reasons rejoicing is very good, apart from jealousy, is if we're saying a positive action will lead to a positive result, if we rejoice in something good that someone else has done, do we get a positive result for ourselves? Yes, gosh, that's very good. So everyone, that's a very good point to understand. So if Geshe Doga does something fabulous, like teach to a whole group of people and teach them a text, he's generating a lot of virtue, isn't he? A lot of positive karma, isn't he? He's illuminating people's minds to be happy, isn't he? So that's fabulous. If I rejoice in what Geshe Doga has done, and it's good to use that example, someone elevated like that, I get some of his merit. The merit of the virtue, because I've rejoiced in an action by a being that's quite, who has that Buddha nature realised. So the object themselves, if you rejoice in their actions, you gain some of that merit for yourself. Not that you're stealing it from them, but you get it. Does everyone understand that point? That's quite a tricky point, but it's quite a good one when you're looking at rejoicing. Because it's one of the easiest ways to create virtue or merit, is to rejoice in others. So easy to do. Isn't it? Yeah. No? Did someone say no? Yeah? Why did you say no?
I think it's difficult to overcome your own sort of hurdle to acknowledge someone else's glory.
Yes.
Because who they were born into, or whether they look like, or they're better suited, because they are suitable to the company way of presenting yourself.
Yes.
As an individual, if you are an outsider, it's difficult.
Yes. So that's why, as the two ladies made the point, you have to do a lot of work internally. Meditation is that tool. And the thinking about it first. So listening and then thinking about it, and then finally meditating and using their technique becomes contrived, and then eventually it becomes more intuitive or spontaneous, Oh, fabulous, well done, that's really good. So that happens. And the merit of that, of rejoicing, it's the easiest way to make positive potential or positive karma, is that rejoicing. And you don't have to get out of your seat. That's the other thing. You don't have to actually physically do anything, dig a road, or there's nothing no hard yards in that other than rejoicing in the person, whatever achievement, whatever it is that they've done. So I'll leave you with one more thing with that. If you rejoice in someone, how do they feel towards you? If you genuinely rejoice in them, if that's your first response, how do they feel towards you? Positive, yes. They love it, positive. So whereas before, if they had some inkling that, she doesn't like what I'm doing, or she thinks I don't deserve, how would they be thinking about you? They'd be thinking, oh, Mark, he's a flake, or he's no good. What is he doing? They'd have probably a disdain for me. But if the rejoicing is spontaneous, it becomes as you said, oh, great, it becomes great to be around, because he or she are acknowledging, recognising my achievement. Anyway, that's the easy way to generate lots of positive potential, positive karma, is rejoicing. So it's probably a good exercise to see if you go through your day and if you could rejoice in someone's efforts, or whether it's hard. So I think initially it's difficult, but then with practice it's doable, like that lady said and that lady said. So we'll finish because it's 5 past. So at the beginning, we did the refuge and bodhicitta. So effectively we were saying, I'm going to benefit all sentient beings through practicing giving and other effects. So we've done I'm going to benefit all sentient beings through listening to the teachings for an hour. So we've generated some store of virtue or positive potential or positive karma in this period. So at the end, we do what we call a dedication. So it's similar to the beginning of the day, establishing a positive motivation, going through your day, and then at the end of the day, if there's anything good come of it, to direct it. So we're trying to direct it. Let's see, where we're trying to direct it to. I have to look. I don't really have to look, but I'm going to do it. I'll just look. Page 11. Okay, so the dedication here, and I'll read it and maybe you can just think about it. So it's, may I quickly become Guru Lord Buddha and lead each and every sentient being into his enlightened realm because of these merits. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen never diminish but increase more and more. So really that's, in a nutshell, and we'll go into this in a bit more detail in future weeks, it's saying, I have Buddha nature, may I lead everyone else to that same state. So I'm going to get there first, and then I'm going to lead everyone else to that state. So that's the way you have to do it. You can't, if you wish it for others, but you don't, if you're sitting back and not trying to put any effort into it, nothing will happen. But if you achieve Buddhahood, you can bring others along. So that's what that dedication is all about. Because of the merits. So the merits I've created, say, in the 1 hour, we've done the meditation and listened, thought about, meditated, all that. I'm going to direct it in that way, to that end. So, and then the next bit is just as important. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen never diminish but increase more and more. So we'll cover what bodhicitta is in future weeks, but what that's saying, it's this point about we don't have a finite amount of positive qualities within us that can't be developed. Oh yeah, Mark's got this much peaceful mind and it can't go any higher. Or he's got that much happiness within him, but it can't be developed. Was this prayer saying, whatever I have in those good qualities, may it be increased, and whatever I haven't got, may it be developed. So again, it's coming back to the same point within us. So that's what, as Buddhists, that's what we do. We go beginning motivation, action, activity, the whole day, whatever, and at the end, directing all that positive potential that way. So thank you very much. I've gone over time, so thank you. If you're happy, I'll see you next week. Otherwise, I'll join you for a cup of tea in the dining room. Thank you.